Silicon Valley, like the story about Silicon Valley 10 years ago, or let even say, around 7 years ago, and less so 5 years ago. But, like in the early 2010s, in, between 2010 and 2015, the story about Silicon Valley was that, it was bringing, it was bringing a revolution to our way of to our daily lives. With we had the smartphone boom, like the touch screen innovation, like there was a lot of hype about Silicon Valley, and we there was a lot of you know a, a lot of concrete results that you could point to and say, like, you know these tech companies have actually been impacting our lives, and revolutionizing and being innovative, but like, as of late it doesn't feel the same way, at least for me. Like, if you think about, like, one big example is, for example, Apple. If you think about Apple, like, what Apple has been doing, if you think of the past 20 years, right? We're in 2021, but if you think of Apple between the early 2000 and 2010, and between 2010 to now, you feel like, there's a substantive difference in how innovative Apple was in the former part, and how unoriginal it has been in the latter part. In the past 10 years, like, Apple has given us almost the same thing with incremental changes. I Same, like an iPhone, an iPad. The new thing is probably just the Apple Watch, but nothing, like, innovative. And I feel like that also goes to a lot, just the consumer tech market as a whole. We haven't seen much of, like, a lot of innovations. Um, I'm blanking on the name, but there's this billionaire guy who's like, he was one of the early investors in Facebook, and his name will come back to me, but he's really involved politically. He's like a Republican, and he's like a weird type of guy, um, who was talking about how, like, one of his quotes is that we're promised flying cars, but we only got 240 characters or something like that. He's talking about how tech was sold as something that's going to change our daily lives, and now we have Twitter, we have Instagram. So, like, it's an important, like, it's pretty interesting. I thought this would be like a good discussion to have on this episode, because, like, I don't know if you have the same feeling, but for me, like, tech has been disappointing for the past 10 years.
That's why it's so. I think that's probably why I also appreciate Elon Musk more, and what he does with what he has been doing, especially with SpaceX or whatever. Because I'm like, this is finally what people have been yearning for, something that is moving humanity forward, like something that is exciting or whatever. And when you go back to the like tech market, like nothing, like you said, nothing has really been happening. But not only that, and I'm gonna credit a lot of what I learned from Marquez. He's like a I tech YouTuber. Like I think his name is MKHD or something like that. Like I really like. I've been watching
MKBHD.
him. Yeah, I've been watching that guy.
Marquez Brownlee.
Like, yeah, I've been watching that guy for so long. Like I love his videos, but he had a good video on also called like the paradox of choice. So it's basically the way in how companies like Apple have been killing the little guys who they innovate to create these little things. Like Apple just released right now the little, I forgot what it's called, but basically you tag that onto any clothing or whatever item you don't want to lose, and then after across all your iPhone product, it tracks where that device is. So that thing started before Apple released theirs, but Apple just released theirs, right? And I think that's the example of how Apple kills a competition, because that has already been like, I think the company was Light or whatever that had already made one. So basically, Apple doesn't say, "Oh, you can't use the other devices with our devices," but at the end of the day, if you're an Apple user, you're most likely going to use the Apple product rather than the non-Apple product. And I think that goes into the motivations of innovating in tech. Like if you're a small guy, because usually I think most of the innovation is going to come from the small guys having ideas, putting it out there, and making something out of it. If you're a small guy and you create an idea, and the market or like regulations don't protect you from companies like Apple stealing your tech and doing their own thing and then weeding you out, I think you're going to see even less innovation in this market because there's no motivation to innovate if Apple's just going to quash me or whatever. Like there needs to be, I think there needs to be more security for innovators. Like I don't know how you do it. Obviously, it's going to be through patents or whatever, but I don't think patents even go far enough with certain products. So I think that's a good point you brought up. Like, and I think this is one of the reason why I think tech has also slowed down. And I think normal consumers, like regular folks, just regular folks, like I don't think we're putting the feet to like Apple's feet to the fire. I don't think we are. I think we're accepting it as it is because at the end of the day, they release a new phone every year, and there's still lineups all the way around the block. Apple has. Remember, just giving Apple this is just one example, but Apple has locked us down into their ecosystem. Where me as an Apple user, once I became an Apple user, I never went back. There's a reason why I never went back because it's just more convenient to stay within the Apple space, right? So.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use Apple products. I don't have like all my devices are, you know, something other than Apple. Uh, but yeah, like, and I by the way, I found the name of the guy. It's Peter Thiel. He's like a big investor, and you know he's a renowned guy. Uh, but yeah, like you brought up a really good point, like in terms of just the fact that there's no, you know the competition isn't as strong as it was in the sector, right? So one the other big guy that has had a lot of controversies around this is Amazon, because Amazon is a marketplace and also produces products. But one of and we talked about this a while ago, is one problem is that sometimes they look at high performing products, and they go around and just produce them themselves and rank them like first on their website, so like that just squashes the small players. And there's like this big discussion in the US of regulating the tech industry. On one side you have these progressive Democrats who, like Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is trying to break up a bunch of these companies. She wants to break up Google from the store app, I believe, and Facebook from like Amazon. She wants to break up Amazon from the what's the other service that they offer, like the online apart the marketplace, they also offer Amazon something
Prime,
services.
like
No,
the
it's
streaming thingy.
AWS. No, not. I think
Oh,
I'm just. It's
AWS.
Amazon Web Services. So they want to break up like Amazon and Amazon Web Services, and I believe Facebook and WhatsApp or something like that. And on the other side, Republicans who are interested in this are more so looking at like Facebook and the way like Facebook and Twitter has been regulating, around hate speech. Especially like the famous case was the former president Donald Trump, who got banned on all these platforms. And so like it's not the same conversation, but that conversation is not really moving. And at the same time, the sector is still like struggling. There's no innovation really. Like it's really sad, uh, that we haven't seen something that's like revolutionizing the consumer tech sector. Like what is it that you own right now as a consumer, a piece of technology that you own right now that you couldn't have 10 years ago, albeit like 10 years ago it would be of like it would it wouldn't perform as well as today, but there's nothing really new, or something that's significant, as was the smartphone, the jump from the regular phones to the smartphones, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like how you brought up also like the Google Store and all these things, because when these companies get to create their own store and they sell like they sell different things off their store, they get money from that store, right? And then Apple's no different. Obviously, I think Apple takes 30% out of any like if out of any in-app purchases from the Apple Store. And I know there's been beef between the companies and Apple, and I think there's a current lawsuit about this as well, because the people are like companies are saying like, why does Apple deserve 30% of all the money we can make? I think Epic Games and Apple beefed pretty hard about this, and I think they kicked off Epic Game off the app, something like that. I forgot. I was watching a video about it, but I think that's one thing that's also an important part. There's a big monopoly in this market right now. So you have a company like Spotify that does like music, podcasting, or whatever, and then you have a company like Apple that has the App Store. On top of that, they also do Apple Podcasts. They also do Apple Music, and Spotify's app is in the App Store. So the question becomes like, how fair is the market for Spotify if they're the small player within the Apple world? And I think I keep saying Apple because Apple is just the biggest example of how clear cut like this monopoly is, and how dangerous it is if it just keeps going the way it's going. Either Apple is gonna have to like take a back foot and realize the impact of their actions, or I don't know, somebody's gonna have to step in to do something, or I don't know, or there's gonna have to be an innovation where there's like a universal app store for every phone, which Apple will never allow on their iPhone. So